Alright, so we're getting ready to throw some upgrades into the Octane. So if you've watched the AsiaTees parts haul, you can see what I got. So we got the wheelie bar, outerwears pre-filter, bunch of aluminum here, titanium rods, more aluminum. Also the A-arms, and some shocks. So before we build, we have to tear down. So I'm going to get rid of all this stuff here and start working our way through. Alright, with all that stuff out of the way, ready to start. So what I'm going to do to save time, I'm just going to do one side because everything is the same across all four corners. So first we're going to get the spacer and you get the drive pin out. We got two Phillips screws here, one up top, one on bottom. And now we just have our steering link. Nut on one side, another Phillips underneath. That pops out of place. Now you get the axle and the bearings out. And for the lower shock, one screw here. And up top you're going to have a screw and a nut in the back. Get the proper hex driver here. And now that's done. You're not going to be needing the spacers because they do come with the GPM shocks that I did get. Make sure yours does. Alright, so the upper link here. So a nut and a bolt. And we're done with that. So here we have one E-clip and then the pin slides through. This is probably going to be the trickiest part of things just because of the way that it's mounted. You have two long screws up front. And I'll get that out. Alright, and then two shorter ones here. And the hard part's not the screws, it's little plastic tabs. You gotta wiggle things, make sure nothing breaks. And we have two more up here before we get to that part. And that's what holds the upper bumper together. And here comes the wiggling. Doesn't hurt if you can get a flathead back there and pry a little bit. Save you on the plastics. Alright, so one side's done here now. The other side. Alright, so just pull your pin, your A-arms out. And you're going to be doing the same on the way back in. Get everything out of the package here. Alright. Line yourself up with your other one. We're good to go. Throw the hinge pin in. And now we're on to the hub. Dry fitted it here and then realize that I was in the wrong direction. So I'm just popping it off now. So pull your pin, throw the pin back in. Snap on your E-clip. And the hub's in place. Alright, just make sure the carrier fits in. Before we go too deep on that. And you got some thread lock here. Anything in the metal. The stock setup was in the plastic, so nothing's going to back out. But this here, you got to make sure to get thread lock on it. Alright, get that into place. Same thing for the bottom one. So now the hub and the carrier and the A-arm are on. And get the axle in, the bearing, and then throw in the dog bone while you still have some play. And this here is the other step that I should, well, throw that in here. But I should have waited a little bit later before I reassemble the upper arm. The steering link is a pain to get at with everything together, so I should have put the steering link on the carrier before even bothering to put it in. But we learn, and hopefully you learn from my mistakes. I had to try to wiggle and fidget it in. Best bet if you do it this way, just screw it in by hand. The threading's really good on these GPM parts, so they're just in like butter, and then you have a nut on the back of that, which is going to close it off. But it took me all this farting around to figure out that I should have disassembled before even trying. Alright, so. And this is where I clued in. Might as well just do it by hand. Alright. Tried the driver. Not doing so good. Alright, so now we're going to hold it in place, get the nut on top. And that part's finally done. So again, save yourself headaches. Put that on first. Okay. So now on to the shocks. Line ourselves up. Stay with the stock configuration. So the top of the shock towers is going to be in the middle hole. You have 3 options. Get our spacer in. The nut in the back. Tighten everything up. And now we're on to the lower portion of it. So for the lower portion, what I ended up doing is I went to the lowest hole. Just going to hopefully bring us back to close to the stock ride height from stock, I guess. Alright, so thread lock as always because we're going into the aluminum. Snug everything up. And we're good. Let's throw on the spacer, the drive pin, the wheel nut. Not the wheel nut, sorry, the hex. Get a good look at that a little bit later, but I'm liking it so far. Alright, so we're going to reassemble, finish off the rest, and we'll be back just before we throw on the skid plate. Alright, so snap the skid plate back in place, add our 4 screws, 2 long ones go up front, and then the 2 shorter ones go in back. Alright, so that's done. It's nice and smooth. Get the bumper finished up here. So we have 2 of the countersunk screws up top that go into the bumper braces. Alright, so save time. We'll do the back and pop back in after. Alright, so front, back, we're all done with the aluminums. The upper links I'll probably be changing. When I went and got these ones, they weren't in stock, so that's why we didn't do that. But now, anyways, onto the wheelie bar. So this is the easy stuff. I'm going to break it out of its parts tree. I'm going to go with the small wheel. Might change it afterwards, but I don't mind having a nose up high. Alright, so we have bearings that go into the wheel. A little bit snug and smash them into place. Get both halves of the wheelie bar. We have a nut on one side and the screw threads through. Just dry fitting it there. So now we have retainer pieces that are going to go underneath. But first off, we have 2 screws up top that we're going to remove and replace them with the longer ones. And that's where the wheelie bar is going to mount. So we have 4 mounting points up top. Or 2 up top and 2 below, should I say. Alright, screw those in. And underneath, you just snap them into place. And then we have in the kit came with a little retainer plastic piece that has a nut on one side and you just screw into the other. And that's going to hold the bottom of that wheelie bar together. Finish that up off camera. Alright, we're getting to the last bit here. The outer wears. Very simple. Throw that up and over the air filter. And this little tug. Tighten everything off. I might keep this for now. Might zip tie later. We'll see. And we're done. The air filter's on. We got our aluminum all the way around other than the upper links. That's coming soon. Got those nice GPM shocks. Everything's GPM that I've done on this when it comes to the aluminum. They haven't steered me wrong. I get all my stuff from AsiaTees. Even my scalers have been bashing those for a while. A lot of JPM on there, and they've held up good. I'm liking these shocks, very smooth. And you get the wheel off here so you get a closer look. Hopefully get a chance to flex the new camera's muscles, but it's still a pain to get it to focus here, especially with all the lights. I think my problem is the lights more than anything else. Alright, so that's off. Get up close here. It's looking good. I should have waited, I don't know why I didn't, but I'd like to say it's not adding much no way of weight compared to the plastic. I think we're pretty close. Sure, durability will be there. And you can't deny that it looks cool. Alright, so with that, guys, thanks for watching. Please thumbs up and subscribe.